Common request for very long time to start talking from the basics. Uh, I was trying to prepare for it for a very long time. Didn't get involved into it much, but starting this Monday, which is next month now, we'll be starting a quiz per object wise in Business Central. There will be questions, very basic questions maybe, related to each object type. We'll be starting with tables. And then once all the questions around tables will be completed, we might do a detailed video about tables. I'm learning a lot by revisiting the documentation of Business Central and uh, rereading it. So if you are interested, the quiz will start on Monday morning. One question every day. It'll be on Instagram, and somebody was asking my handle. So it's at the rate Saurabh.Dhyani, I guess. This is the handle. So you will have one question every day related to Business Central with 4 options. You can comment your answers into that reel or whatever we call it on Instagram. I'm not much into Instagram, but when I was looking at what is the best option to have a quiz, everybody suggested to go to Instagram. And then some people, even in this meeting, helped me in deciding the format and layouts of that. So starting Monday morning, India time, we'll have one question every day per object type, and then how it goes, we'll see that. So if you are interested, go ahead and start participating from Monday. But let's get back to where we left, which is we were talking about minor, smaller tweaks in our codes related to performance. Okay, so let me open my Business Central and we'll talk about it. So for the demo in the previous videos, we did create a big table with a lot of records so that we can kind of test out our codes that we are writing against this. This table have just random data. It has some flow fields, it has some normal field of text type, code type, text, integer, and everything more or less, GUIDs and all, so that we can test things. And it has a lot of data from a test perspective. I did add the flow field. Flow field was not there, so we did add that. And then in the design, I made a small change. So let me show it to you before we start talking about it. So on this table, I did add the flow field as we were talking about. Just copied it from the customer table and then added a key for currency too. There are 2 fields or 3 fields specific to currency code 2 and 3, and all 3 have the same data. There's no change on that, exact same data. So let's open our extension where we took the dependency and we were kind of testing this out. Okay, I guess this is it. Yes. So here in the last one, we tested out for the set node fields, how it impacts your performance, and we saw the results when we ran it. We did talk about the text builder, where we are trying to concatenate a string of whatever number of records that we took, 6,000 records, and then we compared it performance against the normal concatenation versus using the append. So today, let's first talk about the keys. Okay, so let me copy a function or create a function. And let's see what we do over there. Okay, so let's do a simple count. Let's make it global. And let's say count without keys. Okay. And let's use our table that we have. And let's try to filter out some records into it. Currency code, which is not a part of the key. And then let's pick some data from this table, MXN and CAD, let's say. All 3 should have the same values, MXN and CAD. So randomly, let's pick these two currencies. Okay, before I move forward, because I was reviewing code another day and I saw this, and just tell me who thinks this is important. Who think this is important? Anybody who thinks this is important? Line number 41. Just either raise your hand or shout out or say something. Sandeep sir, you think it's important in this point?
No, in this current scenario, no. But if there are record modifications happening and there's a global variable, then it might make sense. But if it is a
Yeah,
local variable, it doesn't make sense.
true. But I see when and maybe I'm wrong, but the new folks who are writing code these days, it's a template in their head. Some way or other, they want to add the reset on the top of every function, even if it's a local variable and there are no filters being set on it. So I was a little bit curious how everybody thinks about it. Okay, so we have this code, count without keys, and let's remove this. And we are going to test this out. Okay. Any thoughts how it will behave? And I'm not interested into the record count, to be very fair. I'm just doing it for the purpose of testing. And then in this one, let's do it on currency code 2 because we have a key with that field. Any difference that'll make?
Yes, obviously. Key will be faster.
Key will be faster. Okay. What about if I add the set current key? Will that make any difference?
I don't know. I've not checked it yet of late, but I believe Microsoft in the code optimization already includes it the way SQL query is designed. I may be wrong, totally wrong.
Yeah, and I guess that's why we are doing this. So let's test it out. Okay. So everything looks good here on the launch.json. I don't want to run that page. I directly want to run this page. Okay. So let's publish this. Okay. And let me add an action reference. Otherwise, these actions kind of get lost these days. Okay. Should be here. So anybody thinks that this will have an impact, or if we add just the set current key of the currency code? Because now in the latest versions of Business Central, you can specify a key without actually having a key, right? And we'll test that out if needed. Okay. Oh, this is a page extension. My bad. Okay. Why this is a page extension? I don't know. Okay. Okay. So we have these two actions here on top of it. Let's test the actual code with the currency where there is no key associated with it. It took how much time? 570 millisecond to do a record count of all the records that have this. So just remember 570 millisecond, and let's see what happens with this. So key does have an impact. What changes if I add the key or the set current key for the currency code field, even if there is no field like sorry, no key with the currency code into it? Will that make a difference? if I change here and say demo header dot set current key currency code. Any thoughts? Any assumptions? Let's say if we haven't tested it out, let's assume that this is an assumption. Okay, let me kill the sessions so that if there is something that kind of goes away. Okay. Okay. So will this line of code will make any difference? Okay, what about if I, and let's test it out. So it was 500 and something millisecond. Let's test it out now. It's faster.
Can we repeat this?
Now it'll be faster if I do it again, but yeah. But if I kill the session, cancel the current session. Okay, and while we are doing this, what if I add the set load fields into it? Will that make it even faster? Guys, guesses?
Ideally, yes. But count, I don't know.
I think set load field doesn't impact this performance with the count. It may
Okay.
impact while we are reading any data into it, but that's count perspective. I don't feel so.
Okay, let's test that out later. But as Sandeep sir wanted to test this again, let's go back and see. So even if there is no key on the currency code, and I'm just trying to utilize the set current key method of the test code, it was 500 and something. Let's test it out again. It's approximately reducing it to half. And that does not mean that you should not add the key. Okay, just FYI. I'm just saying if there is no key, can you still get a better performance by just adding the set current key of the fields that you are that are part of your code that you're writing. Okay, let's test this out. It was 200 and something. I will append one more thing here, and this time will be currency code. Will this change something? Now, in this case, I haven't specified the set current key because there is already a key which exists as an index in SQL Server. So the data is already sorted based on that field. But in this case, where there is no field or no key or index associated with the currency code in SQL Server, I just utilize the set current key, which in the previous version of NAV would be an error if there is no key, right, Sandeep sir, or Abhinav, or whosoever have worked in NAV?
Yes, you're right.
Yes,
You
yes,
need to have a
yes.
key, right?
Yes.
But now in Business Central, you don't need to have a key. You can just set it up directly. But okay, let's test out with the set load field. What happens? Now, not major difference with the set load field. Any performance better here? I click on it. Yeah, no, I did not. No, nothing major. So set load field is only relevant when you're using a find set or find when you're doing a find operation. It is not relevant when you're just doing a filter operations, but you can still utilize the benefit of set current key if you don't have a key associated with that field in the table. Anything else somebody want to test out on the keys before we move forward? Okay, no, so let's move ahead and let's find something else.
But one thing here is like when we are pressing count with keys, it's taking approximately 115 or 120 milliseconds. But when we are doing it with set current key, it is taking 230 or 2 something, right? 220, 230 milliseconds.
But this key does not exist. The only key
Yeah,
that
this key,
exists in
yeah.
table is this.
Although it increases the performance, but not, right?
Yeah, not significantly, but then
Hmm.
keys come with their own cost also, right? So if you go heavier on keys, then your writes will be slower.
Right.
And if you get go with less keys, then your reads will be slower. So it's a trade-off of what kind of table it is. And I don't know there is a best answer of how many keys you should have. That depends on what kind of table you are building and what kind of operation that table will have majorly. Okay, we talked about cal fields, our favorite fields. So okay, let's test those out. So let's create a procedure this time. Okay, the procedure, and I'm trying to do calc field in loop. Okay, so I have the same table called demo header, and now I just added a flow field into that table, which is calculating some invoice amount into it. Now, typically, when you have to deal with a situation like this, you end up going into a loop with the flow fields. So what we typically do is we'll say, okay, in this table, let's say for demo header, let's do a find set. There is a find set, and then let's do a repeat until demo header dot x is equals to 0, and then inside this I'll do a demo header dot calc fields of invoice amount, something like that. What is that field? Invoice. No, there's no field. Let me see. Oh, it did not download the symbol yet. So let me do the download symbol again. Okay. So we do this, and because it's a pretty big table, let's add a break condition here. Let's add an integer, and then in the loop, let's increment the integer. Okay, and if I, let's say, is greater than 500, then exit. I don't want to run it for a long time. Okay, so let's see now. Is there a new field? Oh no. Why it did not download the new field? Should be, let me
Delete that app file and then download.
it should override it, but okay. Yeah. Okay. So while this is happening, I guess this should happen now. Still did get it, I guess. For some reason, it is not picking up that field. Oh, it's still trying to get it. Okay. How many of us, and you can do a raise of hand again while I'm trying to write this, I have not heard about AutoCalc field. AutoCalc field. Everybody knows about it? Okay, that's good then. Maybe then we can skip it. But if you are a reviewer, which you should be, and you're reviewing the code that your team is doing, just do a blind search of doing a calc field in your code that your team is writing to see, because this is a very common thing that people find from the community as their seniors or howsoever they find it, and they still are utilizing this. Okay, so let's see. Okay, now there's the field invoice amounts. Okay, so let's do this invoice amount. I'm just calculating it, and then if you have to use it in formulas and calculation, then you do it like this. And then the new way is to do it before your loop starts and do a demo header. Not new way, it's a pretty old way, but let's talk about it. Invoice amount. Okay, and once you have done this, you don't have to write this line of code. Your all invoice amount of flow field calculation will happen in one SQL query, whereas in this, because the cal field is inside repeat until, every time this calculation will happen for 500 times. In this scenario, it'll only happen once, and then your loop can continue as it is running. Okay,
Can we also add the amount and show the amount in the message?
yes, sir, we can do
This
that.
will ensure that
The
balance
numbers are correct. Okay, let's do that. Calc field here, and then AutoCalc field here. Okay, and then let these guys return something. Decimal, which is total amount. All right, let's put this in here and also here, and then the total amount then gets added into demo header dot invoice amount. A new keyboard can be pain for you. Okay, so here, once we get this, let's do a slash %2, and let me add this here. Instead of being here, let me add it here also, and I'll just comment this out. Okay, okay, %2. All right. Okay, now some of us know that the second one will be faster, but let's take some random guesses how much faster it will be. 5x faster, 10x faster, 1x faster.
faster, that's all.
Faster, that's all. That depends on your environment. That's depend, are you running it on your sandbox or production environment? Yeah, and it does matter. Environment does matter. If it's on-prem, then what is your server configuration? What is your business central configuration? Is it a 3-tier architecture, 2-tier architecture? So first, let's set the old known way, which is the test code. And it did not show me the time. Or did it show me the time? I don't know.
57 is the
copy
time,
this.
right?
Let me put it into Notepad somewhere so that we can see it and then compare it with other. I did put a slash. I don't know why that did not come. Okay. And just for the safety's sake, let me cancel the session so that we don't have any doubts over there. Okay. Okay. So this is a number. I'm not sure what other numbers are, but some of them will surely mean the time. Well, let's test it out. The new code. Oh, it's just showing the total, I guess. Is it? No. What is the mistake that I did here? Let's see. Why it did not break into the second line? Oh,
Can we
because
remove
there
the
is,
slash?
yeah, because there is, it's not, it's executing in the same loop, so it did not have the value. So let me do a result decimal. Let me store the result here. Okay. Because it actually did not complete. It's all the calculation are happening on the same line. It kind of got a little bit confused over there. Okay. So this time we have one set auto calci field, and then we have the calci field there. Okay. We should be able to see the numbers here. But the numbers were different. What I was doing here, let's see. Oh, okay. So I'm doing the same thing, right? Calci field, and it is going till 500, and then it is closing out. Okay. So
Does
let's see.
autoconsole field change the sorting? But it doesn't matter, right? Find set is earlier than
Yeah,
autoconsole field.
yeah, it does it. Let's see the test code, which is the legacy code. It took 309 milliseconds with just 500 records to be traversed, and the total came down to 57416,688.34. Let's kill the session. Okay, and let's publish it again so that we get a fresh session out of it. And this time we'll run this part, which would be doing the same thing, and but using the set auto calci field. We'll see the total because that's important. The total should not be incorrect. And then we'll also see the time that it takes to kind of execute the similar kind of code with this. Okay. The number seems a little bit off, and I guess I'll have to manually calculate it. But it is 57. Why there is a difference? There should not be. Am I doing something wrong here?
Let's do a reset. Well, it doesn't matter normally.
It doesn't matter, yeah, normally. The same field, the same table, and it should not matter. That's correct. But let's do a reset. I doubt that there will be a problem, but let's see. Dot reset, and let's increase the counter by 1000.
Saurabh, if you can put set auto calci field before find set.
No.
Is it supposed to be before find set? I doubt. It's supposed to be after find set. Because let's see here. So it's a flow field that you specify automatically when the record retrieved from the database.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's test it out. Let's publish this again. This time we have increased the record count to be 1000. And everything else is same. So the logic should remain same. I don't have a key, and the calculation actually should come exactly same. But let's see. Okay, let's test the old code first. And for 1000 record, it took this much time, 1 second and 357 millisecond. And for the new code, it took 53 millisecond, and the values are still a little bit different. Now this is happening for the first time. I have never seen this is generating a different set of results based on what we are doing here. Let's look at this. What is this? Okay, so it's just that you specify calculate retrieve from the database, and then you set this, and then any field.
Yeah, it is after this. Check the next the bottom link AL database method.
This one.
That,
Okay.
it will give you the
So this is
third
the
one.
old code,
Yes.
and this is
This is same old code.
second, and this is set
The new one.
before find set. Oh, is it before find set? Okay, Abhinav was right.
Yeah,
Surely
I
doing it
think,
wrong.
see, when we are using this calcifill in report level, so let's say we are using it on a data item, and we need to write calcifill on after get record. In that case, we need to write the set auto calcifills on pre-data item, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that makes sense that you do it before the records being retrieved from the database. Okay. Yeah, because I have tested this out. This should show the exact same results in terms of the total, but the timing is at least in 1000 records, it kind of halved, more than half. Let's see. Okay, so this time it took 1 second and 87 millisecond. The value came down exactly same as it was previously. And let's see the new code, which I guess the value is correct this time, but let's put it here. Yes. So now this is just an example of 1000 record, but if you actually have a huge pool of resource records that you're trying to calculate sum on a flow field, just by adding one single line of code here and replacing, let's say, the calc field with the set auto calc field can give you far better performance. And on top of it, how about if I add my favorite set load field into it? Will that help? Where do we do that? Just before find set. Okay. How about if I do this demo header dot set load fields invoice amounts? Will this have any difference? Because if you were on the previous sessions, we talked about how set load field kind of impacts or changes what query you are making to the SQL Server. And we have seen this in the debugger in the previous sessions. So let's run the new code again. It took 50 milliseconds this time, which is, I guess, higher than the previous one. The total was same. So in that case, in this case, what happens then? The set load field is slowing down the system because it has to not just include that field, because a flow field is then getting calculated from a completely separate table. Then it'll also have to include the fields based on which this formula is derived. That seems the only reason of slowing it down, I guess. And now this will be faster because I'm running it again. Any other thing you can think of? Anyone? I think because when I'm doing this field is derived from customer ledger entry or detailed customer ledger entry. And because this calculation requires those fields also to be a part of separate SQL query, it kind of slowing down that process. So, and I'll have to kind of test it again on a flow field situation, the set load field scenario, and I'll test it out for sure. But bare minimum, whenever you're doing a code review, or if you are a developer who's working on something, once you are done with it, because while doing it, it's muscle memory that we automatically feed in calc fields into it. Once you're done with your coding, just do a blind search of calc field in your VS Code. It'll tell you where all you have used it, and then try to replace it with set auto calc field. Yes, Sandeep sir.
So flow field is not supposed to be in the SQL table, right? So why will
Yes.
it impact the performance?
With this?
Yes, because invoice amount is
Yeah.
flow field. It will not impact anything. It should not.
No, but so when it is trying to fetch that field, it does not store in SQL Server. So this set load field is actually technically generating nothing.
Yeah, it will ignore.
Yeah, it should ignore, but it seems it's taking a little bit of time to ignore
Can we
it.
change it to any other field in the tables?
But then I cannot use the set auto calc field, right? Because that's the only flow field. We were testing on the flow field, right? Other fields are working fine. We tested it
Yeah.
out here.
Can we load fields do this any other field in the set load field? Because I just want to check whether flow field has to be part of this load field or not.
Okay, let's change it to amount. Because there is a field called amount, but wouldn't that defeat the purpose of this code? I don't know, because I'm not utilizing that field here anywhere. So let's see. Okay, so while we are testing this out, let's talk about publishers. Anyone here who have not added publishers in their code till now, which is very common. It's not rare. There are very few situations where you actually add publishers to your code. Why it's slowing down? Okay, let me ask it differently. How we think about when there was lack of events or publisher available on Microsoft Code, which you needed. Did you ever got frustrated and said, why the hell Microsoft don't add publisher everywhere in the system? Why we have to go there? Sorry?
We still get frustrated.
Yeah, we still get frustrated. But, why there is no event on this place? Because I need it at this place. So what would be the reason of not adding multiple publisher into it? What the heck happened to the system? Okay, let's wait for it. It seems okay. Let's run the new code. This time we have a set load field of a completely different field that is not used in the calculation. But oh, that surely increases the time, Sandeep sir. The numbers are same, but it does increase the time because now it's calculating, it's including that field, which is surely changing what fields are getting loaded into it,
Yeah.
doing a select, right? And then to calculate this, it is making a separate call to the actual table from where that calculation is coming from. So it's actually slowing down the system. So
Uh, I
I'll
want
have
one
to
more
debug
question.
this. Yes,
I've
sir.
got one more question.
Yes, sir. Please.
So if on a big table, which will be faster, this method of autocalc field or a query object?
Okay, query object. Now, and I'll just make a note for myself here because I actually would like to test the load fields with flow field debug scenario. Okay, I'll check this out and then let you know in the next week. Okay, this versus a query. Interesting. Um, Query would be faster, but then for each flow field, as an if it's a pretty damn big table where you actually benefit from the query, then that makes sense. Query will be more faster than doing the set out of calc field for sure.
And we don't have to run this repeat until loop. It can give results in one go.
Yes, and then you can read it all, right, in one go. Like we are doing it 1,000, you can limit the query results based on how many records you want to result it, right? The only
Will
thing
it also
would
give
be
me a sum of total amount, the invoice amount field?
sum of invoice automatically. No, it can, right? There is a sum,
Yeah.
but then you'll have to group it by.
Yes.
To get a sum, you'll have to group by it, and maybe yeah, we'll surely talk about query objects, I guess, as we move forward into it. But let's create a separate code unit for this, for the subscriber scenario, publisher scenario. Okay, so how many of us know how you create a publisher? Okay, code unit. Let's do demo code. Okay. So there is a code unit that I would like to, let's first create a procedure and then I'll call it as no publisher. Okay. In this, just to keep it simple, I'll keep it as my int. If it's already there, and we'll say for my int being from 1 to, let's say, 100,000, 10,000, 1 million, let's say. Just do this, do begin and end. Okay. This is the code without any events attached to it. What if I add this code and say this is one publisher, and then here I define a publisher on uh, call my publisher, let's say. Okay, let's see, AGA had a way to do it. uh, okay, it understand, AGA understand it if I do it on before or on after, then it takes it as a. So let's add an event. So this is an event where I'm just, it's the same code, but at this point, whenever a call is made to this function, it is going to call that even one time, just one time, every time. Let's make one more. Okay, and make it, let's say, two publishers. And this, let's call this on before call my second pub. Okay. Now this eventually adds two publishers into the code. We're not writing any logic. We're not subscribing to the events which are there. We just introduce two events, and like in any of your code 80, 90, wherever you go, you see that there are some calls in those places, and then in the same object there is an integration event attached to it. And then you and me as developers will go and subscribe to those events, and then modify the behavior of the process as we need. In this scenario, we have no subscriber at this moment. We just have publishers. Okay, so now let's take bets. Any impact on these three or no impact?
Yes, there will be impact.
Anyone else disagree to what Sandeep sir is saying? Because we are not doing anything in that publisher. We have no subscriber to that publisher. It's just our thing. Okay, so let's see. No publisher. Okay. And there's no result. So let's get out of it. Let's remove this. Okay. And then let's do this. Let me make this good. Okay. And then what happens when I change from 1 to 2 publisher? Will it double the time? Will it keep it same if there are 2 or if there are 3?
Ideally, it should.
Double the time? Okay.
Not
let's
double,
test it
but
out.
yeah, there will be overhead.
Okay. New code 2. Okay. And here I'll do 2 publishers.
Again, I can be totally wrong.
That's okay. And that's why I'm asking everybody. That if you think it's a game of bets, so you can always take bets onto it. Okay. So we have done our changes. Let's publish this. So there are 3 functions that we have and 3 callings that we are making from 3 different directions. The first one has no publisher that is being invoked when that code is executed for 1,000,000 times. If I'm okay with the maths, if I use this right number. And then in the second one, there is one publisher call that's happening, which have nothing, and there are no integration event associated with it. There are no subscriber associated with it. And in the second situation, it is calling 2 publishers. Again, no subscriber attached to any of those. So first, let's test out with no publishers. 23 milliseconds to run that whole loop without any publishers into it. The second one took 3 milliseconds. And why is that? Because I did not reload the session. And this is kind of the problem. Waldo has a template. I'll have to find that out. Because you can create sessions, and I should be doing that. You can actually create sessions from the code. So if you run each code on a different session, then that gives you the different performance, because these caching happens per session as you run different type of codes. So maybe before next meeting, I'll see if I find Waldo's code somewhere, if it is there. And then you can actually rerun these every time. You don't have to go and cancel these sessions. So the first one, when we ran, it just took 23 milliseconds. And now we are going with the one publisher. And that took 68 milliseconds. Is it double the time that we took over there, or is it the same time? Let's see. Okay. So when one publisher, it kind of more or less more than doubled the time just with adding one publisher which have no subscriber. Now what happens when there are subscriber is a completely different story altogether. But if you are building apps for app source, just because you saw a lot of pain of Microsoft not adding a lot of publisher, this is not correct. Why try in 5 milliseconds? That's odd. Okay. Okay. So yeah, if you are an app developer who are building apps for app source, just because you had pain, don't try blindly adding publishers until unless a PTE or one of your customer don't ask for it. And I'm not saying don't add any. There's surely some areas where you know and oh, why it is taking so less.
Can you check the code?
New code 2, yeah, maybe I missed out in the action. Let me see. New code 2, I said to publisher, yes, and I did say this. Okay, that's correct. To publisher.
And the button below is promoted.
Yeah, test code 3. Test code 3 left.
So moral of the story,
Oh.
one publisher is bad.
One publisher is bad. Always add 2 publishers. No, that makes no sense. Why this will call this and then this will call this? That looks a little bit odd. Okay, let's test it out one last time. I'll surely will have to debug to see why it is not behaving the way I think it should be behaving at this point. But the idea here is that if you kind of start adding more and more publishers just because you are thinking that people will rely on your code or will take time into your code, that is not correct. This is a little bit off than expected for sure. Okay, I'll have to test this out. Okay, this is also an integration event, and this is being called from there with the 2 publishers, and that all being called correctly. Okay, I'll test this out. Let's not waste time into it. And if I find something, I'll surely let you guys know. And I'll have to find something because this does not work this way. Okay. What else? We have talked about publishers. We have talked about flow fields, and let's talk about what we do if we have to check if certain kind of record exists in a table. Let me put it this way. If I want to find out the first entry with currency code CAD, and whosoever would like to answer, at least people who are new, I would prefer their answers to begin with. If from this table I need to find the first record which have currency CAD, how you will do that? And again, there are no right or wrong answers. Always. Okay. Let's do this. Keyboard, new keyboards. I hate them. Okay. Find first record, and then let's pick up that table. Let's create a variable. let's do our set range on my currency code where the value is CAD.
Set range is faster or set filter?
We'll talk about it. If demo header is fine first, then okay. Do we do this? Anyone still does this to find the first record just to check is that record exists or not?
Yes.
Yes. Is there a better way to do this? If you just have to check if this record exists or not?
Is empty.
Yes. A new friend is empty. Come on, what happened to this? This is going into a Zoom. Okay. Am I doing something wrong? No. Demo header is empty. Okay. And I'm not saying if you're doing a repeat until, then use it. But if your requirement of the code is to just to check that do I find a record with this, then in the NAV word, it was a very common trait. And if you're doing upgrades, you might see it coming forward as it is when you're bringing your legacy code to Business Central. But if you just replace this only on situations where you just want to check is it there or not, is empty is more powerful, and not just in this situation. It actually will show you great performance result when you are dealing with delete scenarios. Because delete scenarios, when you directly send delete code, even if it is empty, it slows down your process. But if you send it with the is empty trigger or is empty method, or by testing is empty, then it surely shows you a better performance of it. Okay, so let's see how faster we think it should be. As in, there is not much that it need to do. You just need to find the first record in this scenario by using a find first, and then in scenario just doing an is empty on that record. Just the first record, which is the third record in the table, if you look at it, the fourth record in the table. So it doesn't have to go pretty deep into it, and just do a set range and finds that fourth record into it. How faster it will be. So let's see the old code with the find first. Okay, it took 9 milliseconds to calculate the find first and then tell you that yes, there is a record exists with that currency code which we have set. And just for the safety of it, we'll just cancel this and I'll paste the results here. And then we'll try again, and this time we'll try with the is empty scenario. So the find first took us 9 milliseconds because the record was there and it was easier to find it. And as Sandeep sir said, we'll surely try to analyze the performance of set range versus set filter based on different field types in the coming sessions. But before we end this, let's finally verify what happens when we do the is empty. Is empty actually took 26 milliseconds. Now this system is surely going nuts at this point.
No, it's basically environment variables. So on a simple on-premise, this is empty will run fast. It's a lot of variables are there in the SaaS environment, right?
Yeah, but okay. So the first this now everything is okay because everything is running at the same pace. But maybe you are correct, because whenever I've tested this out and I have a whole list of tests that I do run, they are either run on the Docker environment or on-prem environment where things are in my control, more or less from an environment perspective. And maybe that's the difference, because I'm testing it out on the same environment more or less. But then I guess I'll have to bring that in where every time this command runs, it kind of creates a new session from the code, and then runs that command on that particular code. Because time is not the only factor when you think about it. There are different factors available, so we'll test that out. 75 millisecond, which makes no sense. This is 8 millisecond, which makes no sense. Okay, so we'll see this again, I guess. I'll have to see the code where I can kind of trigger these sessions before they begin, and then collect the information, not just the time, from the session, because I can actually, if I'm not wrong here, I can, using this session variable, I can actually start a new session. Yeah, I can start session, and then based on the session ID, I can then fetch different parameters from it. Yeah, I guess I'll have to do that to kind of build that in. Okay, I guess I'll let you go. Enjoy your weekend, and then next week I'll surely try to bake in that session thing into it, and then we might test it out again. And Sandeep said your question was around the set auto calci field with flow field, and the second one is around set range and set filter, which we'll surely discuss next week. Okay, so till then, have a great day, and then if you're interested, I'll put it again. There will be a quiz starting Monday morning India time. If you have a team where there are freshers who are still learning things, I'm starting with the table objects. So we'll talk about different table properties. There will be basic questions about those. And then we'll utilize the responses from these quizzes to compile a video around where we see a lot of gaps in those areas. So if you have a team who's new, would like to get into it, send them my way on starting Monday morning. If you would like to brush your concept, we'll see you on Monday morning on Instagram and every day then. But till then, have a great day, and then I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Saurabh. Session was lovely.
Thank you, sir.
Good to be back.
Thank you. Same here, sir. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so if you're still here and watching this, I know this didn't went the way I expected it, so I'll figure that out. We'll see more on the next week. In the meantime, as I was announced earlier, if you are interested, or if you have a team of people who are interested, then you might be seeing it on Monday. On Monday morning India time, there will be questions here. Okay, thank you. Let me stop recording. Hey, Kunjika.